All right, and I think we should be live. Can you confirm on the chat or the crew? Hi everyone, can you hear us well? No echo?
I can hear you, Cedric.
All right. Okay, seems all good. Okay, so welcome everyone for another workshop, 2 hours, and today we will deal with Spring, the Spring framework. You can expect a very beginner framework workshop today, but full of hands-on. So if you really want to learn about Spring by building something, this is for you. And as usual, we will leverage Apache Cassandra. Okay, today with me I have Bettina. Hi, Bettina.
Hi, Cedric. Hi, everybody.
So I will speak a lot, but you will be there tracking all the chat and stopping me, asking for questions when we have some.
I'll be interrupting you a lot, and I will keep an eye out on the questions, both in the YouTube chat and in Discord. So let's have a look.
Perfect. So as usual, this is not only me and Bettina on screen. We do have a full crew behind us. So people there to answer your question on YouTube chat, on Discord, and help you wherever you need. We are also here all week long on community.datastax.com, answering all your questions regarding Cassandra.
So if you have a really complicated question that doesn't really fit well into the chat, just put it into community.datastax.com, I think. I got this mixed up now. Community.datastax.com, and we are very happy to engage in much more detail, right? So if it doesn't fit into the chat, that's always an option for you.
Yeah, or troubleshooting, stack trace, and if you ask a question on community, everybody will get the answer sooner or later. So that's also help everyone. Okay, so today, YouTube and Twitch are our live. We recommend you to be on YouTube because we are tracking the chat there. Twitch is there as a backup. We will do the exercise on Gitpod. Let's see that. Using DataStax Astra, which is Cassandra as a service. Okay, you will start a Cassandra cluster for free, no credit card, nothing, free tier database. I told you question will be either on Discord and YouTube chat. And as usual, we will do question and fun and survey using MENTI. This is not a new app. This is simply a new tab in your browser, menti.com, and play with us.
And you have a very good chance winning today, right? Because we don't have so many people.
Yet.
So, yeah,
but
it's your chance.
Yeah, people will just come and click. Oh, there is some light on YouTube. Let's jump in. All right. So as I told you, today will be mostly coding session on Java. We expect you to have a previous experience on the Java language. Each time we provide the solution, so you don't have to be the guru, but still understanding what we are doing. You don't have to own a big laptop or machine. All the exercise can be done either on your laptop or on software as a service tool called Gitpod, which is kind of Eclipse IDE in the cloud, and you don't have to install anything.
But if you want to use Gitpod, you need to have a GitHub account, because otherwise you won't be able to launch the GitHub containers. So if you don't have a GitHub account, go and set one up now so you can code along.
True. Thank you. Okay. Some link. You find the same link in the description of the video. So all the materials are on GitHub. This is the link. We will create a database using Astra. Again, the link. But you will have a link to click and use during the exercise. And as we will use the driver, Java driver, to connect to Cassandra, that's better also to have the documentation. Here is the link.
Actually, one thing I just realized that we did not upload the slides again. We do this every week, so I apologize. So we will upload the slides after the workshop.
Oh, you know, we do have a team. Team, can you copy? Can you copy? Somebody can upload the PDF to the repo, please.
Yeah, that would be lovely.
All right, I got an answer. That's an okay. All right, let's move on. And let's start with some questions and Menti. So either use our browser menti.com and use this code. If you are using a phone, you can scan this QR code that will go to the proper URL, or you can also use the Mentimeter application on your phone and just provide the code. But hey, for regular people or people that just come back to see yet another workshop, you know what it looks like. And I think we will share the Menti code on both chat. All right, so is it the proper code?
It's correct, yes. It was,
okay.
That's the one that I'm using.
Because I see 72.
Oh, yeah. No, I'm using 7249387. So that should be the right one. I don't know where this is coming from.
All right. Okay.
Or perhaps.
Let's see. We don't show any secret here. So this is all the Menti we have. I'm using this one, right? Updated 2 hours ago. Okay. And I present this guy. And I do have, as you can see,
indeed.
Okay.
3437182. Oh.
Don't know why.
Okay. Sorry about that, guys.
Yeah, let me put back the code in the chat. No. 3437182. And give me a thumb up when you are login. Yeah, thank you, Bettina. Okay. Okay. Can you? I don't see any thumb up.
Yeah, it doesn't work for me yet, so I might have put something in.
Okay, let me use 3437182. Okay, it's not open for question. That's strange. Let's see again.
Let's use the other one. Let's use the other one that was on the presentation.
Sure, but where is it? No problem.
Yeah.
Just simply tell me where is it. The other one. This is the only one I see. Okay, 20 slide. Menti mode, and I say why voting is closed. Look for video. Can I edit something? Okay.
You need to present.
No. I know what's happened. Oh, all right. Okay, I think I'm good now.
It looks good, I think. Yeah, looks good to me. So, sorry guys. Thanks for your patience.
Yeah, fat finger. Don't know what happened. Mentimeter just decide to change the code last minute. But that was also weird on the first page, the home page of the Menti. I also got a message telling that it's closed. So 2 issues in the end. All right.
Anyway, we don't even have time to give the thumbs up anymore, but I hope everybody is in now.
Yeah, but here there is no time for the first question, so I can wait longer for this one. So first question is, how much experience do you have with Cassandra? Never used it, less than 1 year, 1, 3, more than 5 years. Okay, so as usual, some are very experienced, some are not. So today will be simply CRUD on Cassandra using the Java driver.
Oh, that was me with the 5 years.
Oh, do you?
I didn't expect it to come up so high.
Okay, so let me put a second one. Boom, that's me. All right, I'm waiting for others people to join, as the code was not correct in the first place. But never mind. That's just the code. All right, let's move to question number 2. Have you been to any of our 35 workshops before? I count this morning.
35.
Yes, 35 workshops. This. Oh, did you notice you can both click yes and no? That's funny.
Oh, I see. Let's
So
see.
I will say yes. I have been to multiple workshops before. Okay, so we do have some regular, most of regular.
Oh, that's wonderful. Well, thanks for coming back.
Yeah,
So that's
thank you
amazing.
for coming back. Yeah, I see that we have good feedback on the chat. All right, moving on. How did you hear about this workshop? How should we promote this workshop? And through a friend. Okay, let's see if Instagram and Facebook working as we expect. Oh, in the meantime, I see that some folks have passed the developer certification already, so congratulations to those. Ninja
Yeah,
Ray,
news. Fantastic.
Rock Pereira, good job. I mean, giving free voucher during the summer is just not enough. You still have to do the work and do all the exercise and learning on the academy to be able to pass the dev. That's really something. I passed the dev certification on January just to test it. I got it. Yeah. All right, let's move on. Are you using microservice in production already? Yeah, because today you saw the title is all about building Java microservice on top of Cassandra. But yeah, microservices are now very popular. Still going on, okay. But I see also maybe...
Yeah, that's a good question. I wish I could, right? But legacy.
Yeah, I know that issue. Yeah, come on. Yeah, but you know what? Spring was there for 2 revolutions, I would say. One was 15 years ago, I would talk about that, and one is way later than that, let's say 5 years ago when they introduced Spring Boot. All right, I think, yeah, which programming language do you prefer? Java. Exactly. We can move on. Expected result. Yeah, so today we are using Java. Okay. All right. Python.
But I would really like to know whether we should create this content as well for Python. So, and whether that people would be interested in that. So just let us know, drop us a line.
Yeah, we can take the leading framework in Python to do microservice like Flask, Fast API. Yes, yeah. I think there are 3 out there on Python. Okay. What do you find hard about developing an app with Cassandra? So that for folks already using Cassandra, not that many for today.
Oh, no response. Perhaps it's okay, that's good.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting. That's Spring, yeah. Oh, this is interesting feedback. I think not Windows friendly. That's
nothing is hard. Yeah. Though, yeah, there is no shortcut to experience. This is what, they tell in AWS web blog post. A solution for race condition, yeah. Okay.
Interesting.
Yeah, good point is this workshop is one about many that will come with more content on Spring, maybe more deep dive with Spring Data, Cassandra Reactive, Spring Boot. But let's see. For now, let's do the simple microservice. Like using a machine gun to fly. Moderator. Transitioning from Oracle. Yeah, bad luck. Overload, I'm an admin, learning on dev. Okay, the need of cloud. All right, okay.
This will make interesting reading later on again. So thanks very much. I think this is
yeah,
interesting
we really love your feedback, and we are building new content based on exactly these feedbacks. Okay, what do we have? So now I have moved everything. Okay, this is a presentation. And let's start with a demo. Let's see what we are building today, okay? We are building the API to build a to-do application, okay? To just be able to list the to-dos, create a new one, update an existing, put that as completed, or delete, okay? Real create, read, update, delete operations. I will do the demo on my laptop, and then I will do the exercise with you on Gitpod. So all the materials you need for today are on GitHub, DataStax Academy, where you find all the content for all our workshop. And the name of today is Spring Boot To-Do App. Okay. So what I did is simply clone this repo and import this project into my IDE. That's not an exercise, just a demo. Okay, so I already have some Astra database running. So let's see. I'm going to Astra. I will log in to Astra. And as you can see, I do have something called demo. Okay, and if I go there, I can open the studio and open a notebook. Okay, and if I show the schema, okay.
Can you make that a bit bigger, perhaps?
Yes, but yeah, I won't really type anything there. Okay, let's see. Make it bigger. Okay, this guy is not happy. Okay, it takes some time to make it bigger. Wow. Come on.
It's growing.
It's lagging. Okay, so just to show you, wow, I do have a key space named To-Do App. Okay, and I do have a tables named To-Do App, but it's not a big deal. I can drop this table and the demo will create the expected table. Okay. So what I will do is run the app. Okay, so run the Spring Boot application. Cross finger, demo god, yada. Somebody told before that, nothing is hard. Hope is right. All right, so the app seems started. I can go to a browser and go to localhost 8080, and it will drive me to the Swagger UI. And here you can see all the to-do. Okay, so there I can list the to-do using something called Swagger. You will see multiple layers in the app. One of the layers is simply introspecting existing REST API just to generate the web UI like that, and it's called Swagger UI. Pretty neat. Okay, so I execute this and I got error because I simply executing get one task and not all the tasks. Okay, so here I do have two tasks, a task true, a task true. And if I use this ID, I can retrieve the task from its ID. Okay, I got here the task. I can also delete the task by its ID. So let's see, delete. Okay, I want to delete my task from its ID. Execute. Okay, seems it has been executed, meaning if I try to get it another time, 404, not found, this is expected. And if I want now to list all the tasks in the table, so get this one, I do have only one left. Yeah, true. Okay, so this is what we will build today. All right. Question, no question. Okay, so let's see how we will build that. Okay.
It's kind of the hello world, isn't it, of database applications?
Yeah. Also, especially on the front end, doing to-do list is the go-to. You know, you learn a new framework, Vue, Angular, React, whatever. You look for the to-do app. For the backend, same. Now there is a website called todobackend.com where you find some kind of standard way to implement a to-do backend to get this CRUD API. So I've simply implemented the specification, and then with Bettina we just removed all boilerplate code. Maybe it's not now 100% of all the possibilities, but it's much simpler, and this is really a 101 sample. Again, the purpose today is for you to work, to code, to manipulate, to start this app, and not simply me starting and showing, oh, that's possible. Okay. All right. So first, I will go back to Astra. So Cassandra is a NoSQL database, and at DataStax we provide this NoSQL database as a service on the cloud, and it's called DataStax Astra. There is a free tier. You can register using Google, using GitHub account, and you can create one database for free forever. We don't ask for credit card, anything in contrary of Google, of AWS, for instance. You can go there, start, and create your app. So this app, of course, it's software as a service, so you don't have to manage the database. You don't have to do the maintenance, the backup, the snapshot, and checking the log, troubleshooting. We only provide you a UI to use it and the interface to work with the drivers, and also some tools on top of it, like the studio I just showed you in the demo.
And some monitoring, etc., so you can see a little bit what's happening in terms of load and CPU.
True. And you know what? Back to demo. So, this is Astra. Yeah. This is my database. I can click my database and see I do have SQL console to use SQL. I do have else and monitoring, but mostly I do have the studio I just showed with you just before. I go to the studio. Let's pick the Keyspace to-do app, and I can, select from. So it's a notebook-oriented tool. No install, all web, something similar to Jupyter or Zeppelin, really something web. Okay, that's Astra. And so we would ask you to create the database as soon as you can. So in the GitHub, the first step is really explaining how to create an Astra instance for those who don't have one. And for those who already have an instance, maybe you are using Killer Video, maybe you are using Keyspace from previous workshop. Well, now this is a new feature. It was not there before. you cannot add a new key space, okay? And you can totally, for today, add a new key space named to-do app. Pretty neat.
And if you stick with these values, you don't have to stick with them. So we basically say, you know, this username and this password and this key space. If you stick with what we suggest, you have to do minimal changes in the code later in order to connect.
True.
But you don't have to stick with those. So if you set up your database before and you have a different key space, and
Yes.
you don't want to create a new key space, that's all fine. You just need to make the relevant changes in the code later. But that's not difficult either, right?
Not at all. I will show you how to do it because today is all about you doing. So I will wait you until you are ready. The only thing you need to remember is really your password because it's not written anywhere in the UI.
Yeah, you have to. You could even reset that. But yeah, so if you give us a thumbs up or a comment in the chat to see whether you already have an Astra database, whether you're waiting for it to be created, whether it's up and running for you, just let us know.
Yes, and also I would ask people from the crew to copy paste the link in the chat. Maybe it's easier than reading in the description. But you know, it's dtsx.io. Guess what? datastack.io/workshop. This is our bit.ly. I didn't even know that we can have our own bit.ly.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you, David.
They beat me.
Thank you, Bettina, but Bettina, I cannot click on your link.
Oh.
David wins. I win. Yes, you did. Okay, so key space to do app, username, KV, user, KV, password, because those are the one we used in the workshop previously, and also this is the one predefined in the config file. Okay, and for the download, yada yada, I will show you how to do it.
Oh, actually, yeah, we have different methods. You don't need to download the Secure Connect bundle. You can, if you want to run it locally, like Cedric just showed you.
Mm-hmm.
But if you do it by a Git pod, you can actually skip that step.
True.
So we have some other instructions for you there.
Yeah, I will show you both, and stop me if I'm wrong. All right. Okay, so you are probably creating your database or just waiting for me to go into next topic, Spring and Spring Boot. So not a lot of talk today. Would be the most talking part, and then more all hands-on. But yeah, that's a framework on Spring. We need to speak a little bit about Spring. Okay. And even Spring, I need to introduce, I see that Ashish 2199 is now connected to Astra. Great. Okay, so first, even talking about Spring, there is a concept I need to introduce, which is called inversion of control. And in plain English, with French accent, this is basically meaning I only use the interface, and I don't care about how it is implemented. And I will let a third-party tool decide which implementation will be wired to the interface. So for instance, on this slide, I do have an interface called greeting service with say hello. And below, I do have two implementations, greeting service FR, greeting service EN. Obviously, one will respond in English and the other in French. Now, in the controller on the right part of the screen, if I want to do the greeting, I will only use greeting service interface, and I will using Spring framework, but there are multiple frameworks doing the same thing. I will simply qualify which implementation I need. And if for some reason there is a single implementation, I don't even need to provide the qualifier. And inversion of control is all about that. It's about decoupling, usage of service, and implementation of service. And this is a huge game changer. It was 15 years ago, Rod Johnson, who wrote some books about G2E at that time, application server, WebSphere, WebLogic, Tomcat, providing all the code and all the libraries for you to develop web app. It was big fact. So this Rod Johnson say, what about pushing inversion of control and having the UI using just a contract and be able to change the implementation of the contract without redeploying everything, for instance. And so he created something called Interface 21. And I am old enough to have used Interface 21. Wow. And this was exactly that and only that. Interface 21 has been renamed to Spring Core. I think it's 206 already. So Spring has been created about 205, something like that, and has become Spring already 15 years ago. Wow, I'm old now.
I think it was even 2003.
Yeah. No, don't say me that. Interface, yeah, the book was 202. How to use the G2E from Rod Johnson, and Interface 21 just the year after, 203. Wow, and rename 204 probably Spring. So 16 years ago, and you know what? With latest studies, 60% of Java developers use Spring daily. This is not only a framework, this is really a way of thinking. And at the heart of this framework, you do have this pattern, inversion of control, or IOC. Okay. All right. I can explain you what is Spring in few minutes, but the best sources to go deep is to go to spring.io. Spring is supported by Pivotal, and behind you do have VMware, some huge support, a large community of developers, and it starts very small with the IOC, and the more it goes, the more component has been added to implement microservices, like today, to do reactive, cloud, web apps, serverless, event-driven batch. As you can see, those are very up-to-date terms, and no surprise, this is a screenshot for the spring.io website. So today we will dig into microservice, but we are preparing content for you to dig into reactive, cloud, or other topic in the coming weeks, months. Okay, so Spring provides a comprehensive programming and configuration model for modern Java-based enterprise application. So that's really a way of programming. So at the core technology, dependency injection, which is inversion of control, handling events, internalization, validation, binding, and aspect-oriented programming. Before Spring, we use aspect, creating proxy during the runtime. So the proxy in the JVM will execute some code. It was not easy to do because first you had to compile the aspect and then to compile your code. And Spring brings a lot of simplicity in this. Simplicity with annotation, but also complexity in execution, to be honest. Then on top of this core, Spring moved to the web application part, providing MVC pattern for model, view, controller. So C, view is really the UI, model is the object you will use, and controller is what we call now some kind of API. And it not only provide controller to display web application, but also real REST API and now reactive API. Spring, I think, Spring, I don't know where Spring Data came, but not that long time ago, I think 7-8 years, Spring Data came. Spring GDBC was there for a long time, but providing a comprehensive way to interact with your database. So generating a lot of boilerplate code for you to simply use, guess what, the interface. Now you simply define interface, and Spring will generate for you the implementation without telling you how to. That's kind of magic, but you will have a working class. So DAO means data access object, and it does all the object mapping from your database to the object you are using. Testing, integration, and multiple language now. So Kotlin is now very popular in the Spring community, mostly because the huge popularity of Kotlin in Android app, I guess. But it also come in the more traditional backend. I'm start developing in Kotlin for a few months now. It's way simpler. You remove a lot of boilerplate code again, getters, setters, and all that not really business-oriented code. So for today, of course, we need the dependency injection. We will create a REST API. We use the DAO support to connect to the database, which is Cassandra. We will do a test. So we will show how to run a unit test with Spring. And we will use Java, okay? Quite back to basis sample. It's the first workshop on Spring. Okay, and I put some screenshot here because I just visit the website and say, okay, how many Spring modules do we have today? And I was browsing and browsing and browsing the page, and name of framework keep popping and popping and popping. But because it's always the same logic, it's not that difficult to pick one of those and start working with it, because it's the same logic. Simply implementation could change, connectivity could change, but as usual, an interface, some annotation, and you should be good to go. So
this is one of the questions I actually had, if you don't mind me interrupting you. I think when you start with the Spring starter, with the Spring Boot starter, and you get this overwhelming choice of dependencies that you could add, right?
True.
So for today, we would only need Spring Web, and you probably don't need anything else really in order to get this going.
True. When it comes to Spring Boot, you import some starters, as you said, and the default one is Web, because in Web you have what you need to create REST controller, and it will also bring you Spring Core, Spring Context, which what we need for dependency injection, and that's it. True. We will maybe add Spring Test, because we want to run a unit test that will initialize a Spring Context, because the class we are testing is created by Spring. So maybe Spring Test. But you know what? I can go back to my Eclipse and open the POM. Okay. And yes, as you can see, we only use Spring Boot Starter Web. And except from that is logging, documentation, driver to connect to Cassandra, and test. So you are totally correct, but as you can see, we need the Spring Boot Starter test. Okay, moving on. So you talk about Spring Boot. What is Spring Boot? Well, Spring Boot is putting multiple functionality provided by Spring in the first place and providing a full runtime. So it leverages on existing lightweight web application like GT, like Tomcat. So it will run these application server for you, and it will provide you all the lib you need to implement persistent layer, business layer, and presentation layer. So create standalone application, simplify your build, automatically configure Spring, everything you need, and by simply adding starters, you will add features. So today it's simply REST, so you start with an empty app, you import Spring Boot Starter, you can create REST API. If you need monitoring, just add Spring Boot Starter Actuator. If you need security for your REST API, import Spring Boot Starter Security. It's simple as that. And as you can see, there is a lot of libraries available.
So basically, Spring Boot already makes a lot of decisions for you, right?
True.
What to bring in.
It's really the
so
glue.
It's, kind of
it's the glue.
opinionated.
Yes, it's a glue between all your components. When you say Spring, when you say Spring Web, Spring Boot Starter Web, it knows that you will have a multi-layered app with a presentation and the controller, maybe an access to the database, and some repository. You can also use Spring Boot to implement batches or to implement runtime like integration. Apache Camel, for instance, to move from files from one point to another, or reading a queue, message from a queue and pushing everywhere else. That's really some kind of runtime that provides you not only the library you need to implement, but also a lot of toolings to do monitoring, security, throttling, a lot of things, a lot of support function like that. You don't have to implement it on your own. Okay, so pay attention with the vocabulary. So at the bottom, database, NoSQL database. Okay, spoiler alert, Apache Cassandra is a NoSQL database. You create a repository that will interact directly with the DB. You may or may not inject, we call inject to move layer. We will inject the repository in the service. And the service layer is very useful when you need to compose or aggregate multiple repository. Okay, let's say I do have a first table for customer and another table for product. So I will have a repository for customer and a repository for product. But if the service is show me all the clients, customer with their product, just to display some kind of accounting, well, you need to invoke a single service. And so this service could be called accounting service, and it will use multiple repository to do the request needed, aggregate, and provide you the proper service, the proper functionality. So persistent layer is also where you will find repository and DAO for data access object. Business layer is services, and also sometimes you find DTO for data transfer object, because object related to the database could be annotated to work with the database, but you don't want to expose the same object to your final client. You want to do some decoupling. And decoupling, adding a layer, is also maybe changing the object format to be as clean as possible in terms of architectures. But guess what? If you don't have multiple access to multiple tables, you can totally inject the repository up to the controller. Service is simply optional.
Okay, so here's a question actually on YouTube chat is, are we going to do any reactive programming in this workshop? So perhaps you can say a few things about that, because I think there's stuff in the works.
So right? Not for today. I could share, that's a good question, because you know what? I've just polished the pet clinic application, which is the reference application for Spring, and I wrote it in reactive. So I may share the link of this app, which is still work in progress, but almost done, but for today's workshop especially, no. We will do a dedicated workshop on the Spring Reactive in the coming weeks, and we hope to invite some people from the Spring community to be with us and interact with us. I prefer no saying names, no commitment, but not for today, but in the coming weeks for sure. and I will share a link on the chat about a sample using the reactive. It's a fun thing. So reactive means not blocking call like we used to do with asynchronous programming, but it's much simpler, to be honest, because what do you do when you invoke your database asynchronously and you get an issue? Then in the callback, you have to handle the nominal everything okay scenario and the something's failed scenario, and sometimes it can be complicated to handle all the nested use case. So because I had the question, here is the link. So Pet Clinic Reactive, and if you are already a Spring user, in there you will find the Spring Boot, but also Spring Web Flux, reactive part, and also nice features like authentication with security, like monitoring Prometheus Grafana. It's a quite complete sample.
Oh, perfect. So
yeah, it's complete. Yeah. All right. Plan the Spring application. Okay. So Spring Boot is there, providing you a runtime with both libraries and tooling. But why do you want to run your service inside Spring Boot in the first place? Well, you need to, for your services to be self-contained, autonomous. You want your services to be able to scale at will, and so you would like your microservice to embed the runtime where it's running. Okay, previously in WebSphere, I know I know David's cried on WebSphere. If I told you I need to scale my app and need now 3 instances of my app and put a load balancer in front of it, you would say, what? I need to put WebSphere in cluster and yada yada yada, put a load balancer in front. Now with a microservice, it's simply, this runtime, run it multiple times, changing the listening port, you're good to go. That's really standalone component, lightweight in terms of memory and CPU usage, but already providing a lot of features for you like monitoring, security, because that's cool to scale your service multiple instances, but now you have all small service all around the place, so you really need to have proper monitoring to know when the service is down, to be able to restart it. Okay, with all this galaxy of small pieces in your architecture, they need to be loosely coupled, okay, independent deployable, and I would also say not really strong connecting one to each other. I mean, if one service fails, the service using it should have some what we call graceful degradation, so fallback service to do something even if the underlying microservice is not working. That's also part of make an architecture more resilient. If one pieces crash, not only you do have multiple times the same pieces redundancy to ensure availability, but if the whole pieces fail because, I don't know, database is not there, they're probably not using Cassandra, then consumer have fallback plan as well. Okay, so we are doing the to-do list, so you got that. And so we do have the Astra database, Astra holding the Cassandra database, and we will do a Spring Boot application with the single repository named to-do list repository, a single controller named to-do list controller, and we will implement the controller with Spring Web, and we will also expose a documentation, the demo I just played in front of you, using something called Swagger.
So before we go on, I just see on the chat there's a couple of people who have problems with their Astra. So if the database doesn't unpark, then we can probably ping the Astra team and see what's going on there. So make sure that you connect with Erick and David in in Discord with your, that we get the database ID and we can help you this way.
Yeah, totally. Your cluster ID part of the URL. We will get that fixed quickly.
And if the new key space doesn't create, I think that's possible because we introduced this feature a couple of months ago that you could add a new key space. If you had the Astra database longer than that, because you attended some of our previous workshops, it's possible that the UI doesn't allow you to access the new key space. So for today, just continue with your existing key space if you don't mind, but we can sort it out later on.
Thank you. Yeah. Okay, so now I will take the standpoint where, okay, this is an app you need to create. But okay, this is a Cassandra app. So what do you need when you want to create a Cassandra app? You need not only your entities, what is a task, what are the attributes, but also what are the requests I need to make against my database. Because based on this request, it will code or determine what will be the schema of the tables. So here, we want to list all the tasks, okay? A task has a UID, a title, a flag, complete or not complete, and a property name order. Sometimes we call that offset. Don't be surprised. This is simply the order in the UI. Okay, you can change that, and in the UI you will get one before the other, because in this JavaScript UI you can switch place from task to put the most important task on the top if you want to. Okay, so what are the queries? We want to list all the tasks. Okay, we want to create a new task. We want to update an existing task to met as complete. A delete task and delete all. Okay, so in the meantime, I got some comment on the chat. A brief maintenance task is in progress. That means it's creating the key space. It should be there in a minute. Yeah, I had that before today. Yeah, so the brief maintenance task is really the Astra is creating the key space. Okay, so we do have the entity, we do have the queries. Now it's simply using basic rules explained in DS220, so DataStax Academy 220. You can take the course on DataStax Academy to go to the physical data model. But here is very simple tables, because we can do everything with the single tables. Let's call that to-do_task. So the partition key is UID. It also ensures unicity, meaning the full primary key of the table is simply UID. And with that, you can easily do get task by ID, update task from its ID, delete task with its ID, and which is cool because in the UI, at any time, you do have the task ID when you need to operate on it.
And it makes sense here because you could have several tasks that have the same title.
True.
For example, in my case, I feed my cats every day. So feed the cats, completed, feed the cat.
So do you have on your to-do list feed the cat like 20 times?
Yes, because I forget it. But so that means if you have a different UUID per task, I can sort of show, look, I fed the cats 50 times last week, right? Because I always have a new task for the same title. If you didn't have the UUID, we would always override this one task, right? So I think that's why it's in there.
Yes, you're correct. The primary key first goal is really to ensure unicity of your record. Exactly. So, and if you're not familiar with Cassandra, you see UUID, unique identifier, very similar to what we have in Java, but not an ID, not a sequence, not auto increment. We are using ID generation. All right. Okay.
So just one more. No, sorry.
Go for it.
If you have problems creating the second key space, don't worry about it, right? So I think there could be some glitches with databases that have been created before we introduced a new feature to add another key space. Just continue working with the key space that you have. We're only creating a small table in it, and we can get rid of it later if you don't want to have it in your Astra key in your database, right? But don't worry too much if you get stuck at the add a new key space stage.
Yeah, and as you can see, I do have when I ask for a new key space, I do have a maintenance mode going on, and if I click here, I do have the orange bar telling me, maintenance is in progress, yada yada. Yeah, he's creating a new key space, and bam, he's back. Okay, so no harm here. Okay, so now let's move to the drivers. That's a lot of theory, but we will move to exercise soon. Okay, so the download secure connect bundle. Yeah, I will switch this one. Okay, so we will use the Cassandra driver to connect to Astra because the DataStax drivers, the main driver for Cassandra, are implementing by DataStax, and they are handling not only Astra but also any distribution of Cassandra. When you connect to from your app to Cassandra, you need to provide a secure connect bundle, which is a zip file. You will download this file from the Astra UI, and from there, any order that you execute, any query statement that you execute, will go through the load balancer and will be routed to the proper node. Because in Cassandra, the data in your tables are splitted among multiple nodes and replicated among the nodes. And so when you execute a query, providing the partition key, you know where to go to the proper node. Well, even if it's HTTPS connection between Astra, is using something called server name indication and is able to route your request to the proper node, knowing which one based on the partition key. Okay. So as I told you, the DataStax driver are implementing multiple languages. Okay, Java, Python, Node, Ruby, C++, and providing tons of features. So connectivity, query, and parsing result. You will do the 3-step today. So exercise 1 will be connectivity, exercise 2 will be query, exercise 3 will be parsing the result. And you should have the slide very soon on GitHub. Maybe folks already have uploaded the document. Okay. So first, connection. I will use an object called SQL session. I will use a builder. This is a Fluent API. SQL session is immutable, so always good to use the builder. So Fluent API. So simply say with Cloud Secure Bundle, a zip you would have downloaded from Astra, with key space, the name of the key space you just created at the moment, and user password, TD user or KV user, depending on what you use when you created the Astra instance. So you can either provide all these value inside the code like that, and you can inject those value coming from anywhere else. That's one of the neat features of Spring. Spring will read constant from a file and inject those values into code. This is how we read properties. Okay. Or you can say, oh, all these keys would be in a file called application.conf in my app, in my class path, and everything I just defined here would be part of this file. And now I simply have to say SQL session.builder.build, and all the parameters will be read from this application.conf. And this is
and actually, if you go back one slide, because in the driver we have a reference conf, which has it's a long file. It has a lot of settings, so you can actually set a lot more properties how you want to configure the connection by using the application.conf. It gives you an idea what you can set in the reference conf. So it's going to be much more practical than just passing them directly to the builder.
True. True. And you will see there that we have added a couple of extra parameters for folks who may have a slow connection, you know, experience from the workshops.
Yes, yeah.
Okay, and this is what it looks like. And I think now we do have all the pieces to do a first exercise and you connecting to Astra using this SQL session object, correct? Yeah. And I will tell a word about SQL session after this ends on. Okay.
So the application YAML, I believe, is for the logback, actually, that we have, or perhaps for the Swagger.
Not only, yeah, true, that's true, but not only that. Spring Boot, okay, no, Spring, using a single file called application.yaml. So here, the keys I define in application.yaml are really the keys read by Spring. Okay, so everything YAML, application.yaml, Spring, and application.conf is the Java driver. Okay, so if I look in the application.yaml, here you can see that my app will start and expose the REST API using 8080. And this is the settings for me to set up the Spring Doc framework. But in there, all the keys from Spring Boot can be added. And so there is in IDE like Eclipse or IntelliJ some very nice features telling you what you could add based on, you know, the library you have. So if you have used the, you know, if you used the web, okay, so it could expose web. I do have the port. I can also add the address, you know, let's say, or the context. And each time I do have auto-completion to say what I can add, what I cannot. So I can enable HTTP2, and this is simply Spring reading from the Spring Boot web, telling me which key I can add. Okay. And so today we are using the core driver. So we just say, oh, we want the driver to read the value from its default file. Okay. Soon in the next workshop, we will use Spring Data Cassandra. And guess what? Spring Data Cassandra means we are using the Spring file. All the keys are in spring.yaml. And here you will see something like Spring. Okay. And here, oh, I don't have ActiveMQ here, but Spring Data Cassandra, and you can start adding some keys from Spring Data Cassandra. But guess what? We would rather first show you what is Spring Boot, how to use the Java driver, and bit by bit add new steps, add new component. Okay, so I will do the exercise like you would do, so using Gitpod, no surprise like that. And please put a thumb up in the chat when you are done with this first exercise, which is really executing two tests to ensure that you can connect to Astra. So if I'm going to, yeah, okay, I refresh, okay, and you are there, okay. I'm going to the repo, like you would have do. I will open Gitpod. So to open Gitpod, I go to here, open in Gitpod. Oh, I should have just command click. Yeah, okay, exactly. Yeah. That's not a big deal. So I do have my exercise here, and I do have my guys opening here. Can I do? That's a bit hazardous. Maybe I will simply switch from one to another. Okay. Let's do 2 tab. Keep stuff big. Okay. Speaking of big, okay. So as you can see, I do have something very similar to Visual Studio or Eclipse and it's a full IDE working working in the cloud. So here on the bottom you do have a terminal. Okay, see, somebody uploaded the slides.
Thank you.
as you can see, Gitpod will clone the repo for you. Okay, the moment you click on open in Gitpod, and this is why you need a GitHub account. Okay, so
give us a thumbs up when you're in Gitpod. Would be really good to see who's actually coding along. So
true. Yeah, the purpose is really to get full hands-on. So go to the repo, click open on Gitpod, and from that we will start doing stuff. So I'm looking at question we could have. Okay. Yeah.
Oh, wonderful.
Yes, I see Ashish. All right.
You've got two. Let's see whether I get a few more.
Is everyone shifting to Brave Brother? Well, if you care about your privacy, maybe. And you know, Deborupun, I'm quite is open mode today because by default I disable script, so no JavaScript, and I only open when I feel it's good. But yeah, no cookie, no stuff. Yeah, secure browsing, I hope. Yeah, and this stuff is full of ad blocks. So yeah, so people living from ads, that's too bad, but that's just too much. Okay, sum up. Okay, so you should have your Gitpod open. What do we need to do? Oh, and you should also have now your Astra database ready to go.
Yeah.
Okay.
You need access to your Astra database now to get the secure bundle.
Okay, so create the Astra database. I did that already. You saw me doing that. Download the Cloud Secure Bundle. Okay, you remember the big zip file that will hold all the certificates to initiate a connection between you and the cloud? Okay, so to do so, I go to Astra, I refresh my page to be sure to have the latest link, because the link here will be valid for 5 minutes. So, you know, we never know. And I will go here. So download secure bundle, connect bundle. So I can either click on the link, it will download me a zip, or I can copy here. And this is what I do. See, the link has been copied to the clipboard. And with that, I can go to Gitpod, okay, and I will curl, okay, -l, and double quote, and here I will paste the link, okay, and I will redirect the output into creds.zip. That will hold all the certificate, okay. I need to validate that this, you know, this file is there, so I do ls-l, and please ensure that the file is about 12 kilobytes. Sometimes it's smaller. When the app starts, it may fail, and it is all due because the creds.zip has now not been properly downloaded.
Actually, I said, like, you want to move it into the Spring Boot to do app folder, the next one up, right, into the
let's see. Oh, to have the creds.zip? Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe, you know, I will.
One modification that we should actually probably make.
Yeah, okay, I cheated. I moved the file there.
That's perfect. Yeah.
Okay, so the file is there. Workspace, Spring Boot to do app, Spring Boot to do app. Okay? Thumb up, Discord and YouTube when you are done. I will wait for you. That's real code. And you can redo the exercise whenever you want. Gitbod is totally free. That's an amazing tool. And in there you do have Java, Maven, Docker, tools, just out of the box. Just amazing.
And you can obviously modify the code and experiment with it. It's great, really.
True.
So.
Yeah. And if somebody changed the code on Gitbod, I can do git pull and it will be updated as well. That's cool. I can also commit my code from here. So, you know, I'm on I don't know, iPad or tablet or anything. I can go there, open Gitbod and start working there. I'm such an Eclipse geek that I would probably don't, but okay, people, how many folks do we have? Okay, any thumb up? I know we do have Ashish to 21.99 already done. Yeah, we are not in a hurry. We do have plenty of time. Should I put some timer? Like, okay, let's see. Let's wait for... Okay. So let's wait for... I don't know.
2 minutes is probably
okay,
enough.
yeah, 3 minutes probably enough.
Because we've already had some. Anyway, let us know, you know, if you're only watching, so we're not waiting for you. But it would be nice that if you tried it out, that would be cool.
Yeah. Should I play some music like David?
Please put some singing.
Do you want to sing something, Bettina?
No.
We will get a jump in our viewers, you know.
A drop.
Oh, that would be so nice. Yeah, no, I won't open any. Yeah, I will wait the 2 minutes.
Yeah, so the secure bundle is really important for the connection. So without it, there's a question: how to make use of Cassandra in personal projects?
Yeah, Astra is a good way to do it because it's free. So, you know, sometimes you just say, yeah, I would like to do, I don't know, I would like to do some websites. I know how to expose, you know, all PHP, CSS, Java, JS, because there are a lot of free providers. What about the database? Well, Astra is free. You know, there is a free tier for your personal project. Go for it.
Yeah, even for a small database project, you know. Absolutely fine. So.
I'm watching along, no key space created. Oh, so to see if you do have key space. So look at that. I don't see any key space, even if I know I do have multiple. To know if I do have multiple key space, I can either go to SQL console. My user is very secure, as you can tell.
You should see the password. It's even more secure.
Yeah, but okay. Can I? Oh, wow. Wow, it took forever to get my... okay, and now I do describe key spaces, just to see. And I want a key space has been created. I do have my pet clinic for the reactive demo, to do app. and Astra
And a
101.
keyspace called I want a keyspace. There
Yeah,
you go.
this is what I
The
just
special
did,
one.
you know, as people say, I do have a maintenance. Yeah, you can ask a keyspace. So you want a keyspace? All right. Or, okay.
Okay, let's continue.
Okay, moving on. All right, so I do have my zip over there. So next step is to install the dependency. So I'm copy paste. I will run maven command to clean install without running the test for now. So as you can see, maven is there, Java is there, and it will download.
It will download a lot.
That's also part of Spring Boot. So Spring Boot gives you all the libraries, but libraries depends on other libraries and other libraries, and you end up with downloading half of internet. But it's not as bad as Node module. Maybe it is. I have no clue. Okay, so everything has been downloaded, and now I should be able to start working, right? So exercise 1, test the connection to Astra. So I will go to the first test classes. So in a Spring, in a Maven project, to go to the test, you go to src test Java, and here you go connectivity to Astra explicit test. So if I open this guy, as you can see, we have defined for you kv user, kv password, the key space name, and the path of the zip file. This is the reason why Bettina told me to change, to have creds.zip in the proper location. And I will use my ultra secure user. And I will also use and show my password, because guess what? You don't have my zip file, so you cannot use my Astra instance. And suspense, my super password is tada. Okay, and I do have this key space. So here I will create a unit test, okay? Run with GUnit platform, okay? No Spring involved, so I don't need anything. This is a pure GUnit 5 unit. So to execute this test, you will copy paste the command, which is maven test, the name of the test and the name of the method. So on a real IDE like Eclipse or IntelliJ, you could probably do right click and say run as GUnit. It's not yet there in Gitbot, but still you can run the test with maven test. So connect to Astra static. This is exactly what we want to do. So first thing, this guy check that the file exists, and then he's connecting using the sample code I gave you.
It's connected. There you go.
Yeah, wow. Great. So connection established, and you do have one test successful, okay? So quickly, I told you that you can also delegate all the keys in a file called application.conf. So if I open application.conf, it's in main resources, application.conf. And this time I will use this path, okay? The key space is the same, and user password. Okay. And with that, I can show you what the second test look like. This is really opening a file called application.conf. I even giving you something called a driver config loader just to change the name if you want to, but I could probably connect simply like that. because that's the default
I agree.
file.
Exactly.
Let's see.
And
Yeah.
if you make changes in Gitpod, don't forget to save
Yes.
the files,
Yes.
because it doesn't auto-save.
True. Okay, and let's see how it goes. Yeah, I hope you will find the same.
This looks promising. That looks good.
Yes, so
good.
yeah, look at that. Simply have builder.build and all the keys, all the complex configuration, if there are some complex, are in a conf file, delegate in the conf file. Okay, not bad. And guess what? Now the app, the to-do app we are building will use the very same file. So you're good to go. You know that your app will start. Okay, moving on. Create schema and do some insert. Okay, so I will probably go a little, do a few slides. So first, the session we created should be a singleton in your app. Okay, single instance. These objects handle connection, multiple TCP connection to Astra, and you want to clean up, close those TCP connection when the application just is down. So you can create what we call a shutdown hook using a Spring annotation, pre-destroy when you define an object. And this method is called when the application shutting down. And what we do is, if the session is not null, please close it. It will properly close all TCP connection. And okay, so please, one instance of the SQL session per application. Okay, so now we do have the SQL session. To execute some query, we'll simply invoke execute method. Great, right? So you can simply execute a SQL, Cassandra query language string like that. All the query you executed are called statement. So you can either use a pure string like that, but it's not the best because now people can force some strange request and do some, attack, try to attack you or escape some features. So you want to validate this statement, and so to avoid any SQL attack injection, SQL injection attack, you will explicitly define this as a statement. Okay, so this is what it looks like. Find me everything for table 1, well, column 1 is 5, but hey, yet again, that's still a string. So this is not what you like. You will externalize one of the parameters. Instead of putting the value, you will use a question mark. And then you can say simple statement.builder and add the value here. But the statement itself is a question mark like that. You can either use a question mark and use positional value, or define a proper name and use name value. And see, you execute the statement in exactly the same way, which is pretty neat because if here it is a string or a double or a list, well, having an object is making the driver doing all the boilerplate code to change from the object you are using to the SQL query. So probably thinking about the date, really the date or timestamp right now. What if you need to serialize a timestamp in SQL? That's so neat to be able to just pass the instant object to the function.
Especially for dates and timestamps, always.
Yeah. Okay, so as you can see, those are called simple statements. You can be more performant in your app. At the beginning of your, at the launch of your application, you can prepare your statement. So you will ask the SQL station to prepare the statement. It will be called prepare statement. Okay, so the prepare statement is then stored at the application side and at the server side as well, using called a prepare statement ID, some kind of key. And so when then you want to, doing the prepare, by the way, Cassandra will validate that the SQL statement is valid, that the table 1 is available, that contains the column 1. All the grammar analytics, all the validation are done during the preparation. And then when you want to use that statement, you will simply bind the parameter. See, we do bind 5 and not at positional value 5, okay? Bind, we got something called a bound statement, and we execute the bound statement, and we get an increase in performance. But I think we don't put any prepare statement for the exercise. We simply ask you to do. Did we?
I think we have some.
Oh,
yeah,
let's
we
see.
have some.
Okay.
There's only one place where we use the simple statement.
I'll bite my tongue. Let's see. All right. I'll bite my tongue a bit. All right. Okay, so you execute some statements. As a result, you will get an object named a result set. In there, you have two parts. One is called what I call plumbery, where you get all the information, execution info, was the query success or not, how much time does it take, was it apply, okay, plumbery. And on the other side, you do have the data. And the data is not a list, because not all data is retrieved immediately. It's only retrieved when you do .next. What you get is an iterator, a cursor. And why? Well, Cassandra is no SQL database. We expect you to insert a large volume of data in Cassandra tables. So if you say select star from a table, not only you will get value from all the nodes in the cluster, which is slow, but you may have a huge number of records. And if we give you a full list of records, you may simply blow up out of memory. This is the reason why every request in Cassandra is paged. The default page size is 5,000. You can change that per request. And so you get not the full list, but an iterator. And you can also say how much page do I have in how much record do I have in my page. And now I will know if I need to fetch the page number 2 or 3 and so forth and so on. Okay, moving on. I can get a single row like that. If I invoke explicitly all, it will exhaust my iterator. It will fetch everything. Now, be careful. Now you can have out of memory error if for some reason you do have a large number of rows. So be careful. Don't do result set.alt immediately. Of course you can, but be sure to know what you're doing. Okay, and you can use lambda. All right, moving on. Okay, and once you get the row, you simply can access column using the name of the column. Row.get string, get duration, get boolean, get UID. So let's see how it goes. I'm going to the Spring Boot app. I'm going to create schema in Astra classes. Okay. So look at that. Here we already have written the code to connect to Astra. Okay, it's the same as before. And now we are using a simple statement to create the table. We can either use the SQL string, create table, to-do app, colon, UID, title, completed, order, or I can ask for a utility class named schema builder to do it for me. And here, look, I am using some good pattern. All the constants relating to my data model, I've moved them in a dedicated interface. This trick is useful because if now you want to change one column, that is not part of the primary key, remember, you cannot change the primary key in the Cassandra table, then you will simply change the name here and all the code in the application will be changed in one operation. Okay, so what I'm doing exactly as a request, I can show you with the studio. I don't know why the studio is not open anymore. Okay, or I can also show you with Astra. Okay, let's open one. This is to-do app, and I will describe table to-do. Okay, let's use to-do task. So describe is really something helping you to say, okay, so this is the statement we are doing using the builder. Create table, and this is exactly the one you saw on the slide. Okay. Okay, that's not the connectivity test, that's a create schema. So I will execute the test to create the tables. And look, I do have if not exist. So if the table exists, I won't get any error. But you know what? Because I'm in demo mode and I'm looking for you, I will drop the table.
Drop the table.
Yeah, I can totally drop the table. Oh, it's a pre-recorded video. You cannot do that. All right, so now the table is gone.
Disappeared.
All right, so now I will execute these classes. So the name is create schema in Astra test. So I will copy the create schema in Astra test over here. So connection established, table to-do task has been created. I can go back to the studio, but trust me, it's there. Okay. All right. So we did the create part, and now we can go to CRUD part. You know, create, read, update, delete. So what does it look like? Again, I am open the classes. So look at that. This time I will insert value and search for values. Okay, 2 statements. So I can first run. So I will create a task. Okay, let's see. Any similarity to existing task would be totally a coincidence. Bettina, did you feed the cat? Okay.
I didn't actually.
Oh, okay. So yeah, so you still have to do it. All right, I will save that. I will execute the test by using the command test. And here I will test. Okay. Okay, so now a task has been created with UID. And if I go to the studio and I show what's in there, always good to have a, no S. Yeah, there's S. Okay, so it's not happy. No, I'm not using the proper key space. That's better. Okay, so I know I need to feed the cat. And see offset. This is my first task. Okay. So you are probably executing this meow, executing this test. Okay. Now that's a good time to dig into the Spring part. Okay. So we know we do have an object called SQL session, the one we use to connect and the one we use to do the queries. We also know that we want a single instance of this SQL session. So to do so, we will use Spring. So in a Spring application, you will define beans. Okay, beans that are either configuration or services or repository or controllers. Everything is a bean. with a dedicated classes and most of the time a single name. So here I need a SQL session. So I will create a class, name something config, just to tell everyone that it's a config class. Let me open that in big. I will annotate these classes with configuration. Okay, see, that's a Spring classes telling that, okay, everything I do there will create an object that should be visible for everyone. And see, SQL.builder.build, how complex it is. It's not, because we have delegated all the keys to the configuration file. And now you start understanding why Spring is so popular, you know. Now you are paid one full day to write this class. You may be paid one full day to write this class, right? Not that.
Once you understand the annotations, I think there was one, obviously you use the annotation configuration here, but later in order to use it, you use the annotation auto-wired.
Exactly, and right? This is exactly what I will do here. This is a test, okay, unit test annotation, and here I simply said auto-wired. So if somewhere in the Spring application there is a definition of SQL session, inject me the value, dependency injection, inversion of control. And so I can totally use this session everywhere now. Okay.
So auto-wired means it's now scanning for the configuration for this and uses this configuration for SQL session.
Exactly, exactly. It's yeah, this is very, look in the Spring application, find an object, an existing instance with the same classes, and give it me, you know. Initialize the value with what we have. Okay.
And that's kind of this inversion of control that you were referring to. You basically say, hey, I need a session, right? And auto-wire it for me. I don't want to care about, you know, framework. You do that for me, right?
Yes, 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 yes. So you might have seen in the 3 tests, I am executing the SQL statement, providing the SQL session, but this is not the way Spring should expect you to work. You expect you know, repository, service, controller. So let's create a repository. So this is a class to do repository. Okay. This is an interface. Okay. Remember the small trick to get all the constant in the single place. And in this repository, I need to have find by ID, update, you know, create or update, which is upsert, delete, find all, delete all. See? And I do have an object named to-do with all the attributes that match the column in the tables. So see? This is not an implementation. This is simply an interface. Okay? And in my unit test, not only I'll ask to auto-wire the session, but I also need to auto-wire the interface. And I'm using only the interface. And I don't care about the implementation in the test. So what do? Well, we create a class. This time it's a concrete class. We will implement the expected repository. I will provide a name that explains how I implement this repository. So I simply say, here I'm using the Cassandra driver, and this is a real implementation. And then I'm using add repository, and I give it a name. And the reason is maybe I can have multiple implementation of to-do list repo, and we will do in the coming weeks, because this is a Cassandra driver implementation, but soon we will have a Spring Data implementation, Spring Reactive implementation, and so...
Or in memory, right? So
true.
It doesn't have to...
It's the same signatures of the method, different implementations. So here, what do we do? In the repository, I inject the classes. I inject the SQL session. Why? Because this guy needs it. Okay? So you can use either auto-wired or provide a constructor with the value. Now, if I'm doing that, it's still working, because Spring will notice, oh, there is an attribute named security session, and you provide a constructor with exactly that parameter. So I will inject in there before invoking the constructor. It's named injection by constructor, I think. Okay, so now we told you, oh, that would be cool to prepare your statement in the beginning. So when? Why not in the constructor of the class? So here I do have something called init statement. And if I go to the bottom of the class, here I do have init statement. So first I create the table. And the reason is, if tomorrow you want to run the exercise and you forgot to run the unit test to create the table, I got you covered. I will simply create the table on the fly for you. So then I will prepare the statement. So see, this is what the statement look like. And here I prepare. And I prepare every statement. Delete, read, update, delete. Okay, so everything there. And last but not least, so I've prepared the statement. So now if I want to insert a to-do is my object. What I need is simply oh, I'm not using.
This one is the only example.
I'm not using the builder anyway. No problem. I will find another one. Okay. Find by ID. Okay. I will provide the UID. I will bind the UID, getting a bound, and I will get my result set. So remember, result sets have some rows. Here I'm using .1 because I'm sure I do have a single record, because I execute a query based on the primary key. So I do have rows, but what I need is task. So most of the time what we do is provide a mapper. Here is a Cassandra row, and I will marshal this row as an object named to do. So this is explicitly mapping one to another, one to another, one to another. And this is what we may automate in the next week. Today is really getting started. Okay? And then you do have the full create, read, update, delete that are executed in the test. Okay. So we do have the repository. Did I no, don't
Did
say.
you change anything? I don't think you did.
No. Maybe I just put some comment and remove the comment. Who knows? Okay, so let me go back to the app. Okay. We do have the repository. I have created for you the controller, which is a REST layer. So I go here. Okay, this is the REST layer. And here I am using some Spring Web annotation telling that this class is a REST controller, should be listened or exposed to this relative URL. And then I do have my find all, delete all, update, delete, create operation one after the other. What do I do? I say it's a REST service, so I need to provide which HTTP method is using. So if it's a GET, it will create some JSON format. And here, this is yet another annotation to have Swagger, a third-party tool, generating a UI, a test client, to be able to execute these online. But you know, except from that, find all, okay, I will invoke to-do repository.findAll, and I will map that as an HTTP response, and that's it. Simple as that. And guess what? In the controller, I need a reference to the repository. And so to do so, I am using AutoWired. Now I am injecting the repository in the controller layer. And
you're adding the qualifier there that it is the Cassandra driver.
True, but because there is a single implementation of the interface, I can remove this code as well. Spring will tell, oh, there is a single possibility, I will get you the one you need. Pretty neat. And this class is also a bin, a Spring component, because it does have an annotation telling it that it's a component. Okay, and with that, I can start the app. So to start the app, because it's a Spring Boot application, so two ways to start the app. In the Spring Boot application, you do have a main. Okay. And you can simply probably just ask to run the main. I never tried that. Can I?
I did. Yes, it works. I think it should just work.
Oh, yeah. So I now run the app 20 times. Yeah, I did. Okay. Impatient small guy. Okay, so this one is open. And so he's starting an app and he's asking me to open 8080. So I will make it public and open a browser. So see now, even in Gitpod, I do have a long URL where 8080 is part of the URL, but this is the app started and providing me the URL. So now I can try to invoke the to-do. So here I do have feed the cat, which is true. Okay, and that's it, you know. So another pieces of Spring here on top of injection, creating REST service is running the having the runtime using Spring Boot. So you can either click run, or can I stop this guy? Is it really stopped if I do that? I'm not sure. Yes, it stopped. Okay, so now I can also run the app with Spring Boot, say Maven Spring Boot, and it's working because the app reuse the same application.conf file. Simple as that. Oh yeah, I need to download the other part of internet I did not download last time.
So why does it do that actually? That's a good question.
Where?
So what else is it why does it download more things after we've already installed everything?
Oh, but because first we did Maven compile, so it simply fetch all the dependencies to be able to compile. He's a lazy guy. And then later when I ask Maven Spring Boot run, then now suddenly he needs the plugin named Spring Boot. He will look in his own local folder. It's not there. I need to download. But if I close the app and run it again, because everything has been downloaded and it's local, it starts like that. No download anymore.
Okay.
So many internet to download. Yep. Yeah, that's the way to code today. There is a library for everything. No, I won't save. Okay, so now you know how to run the app like that. Easy, right? Okay, build a Spring. I think going that through code review were very, I think, more clear. You still have the slide to understand what we did, but here you still have connectivity injected into a controller, providing all the create, read, update, delete operation, injected into a REST controller and having a nice REST API. And so you can adapt that for any classes in simply reusing the same logic. We did that. And so now it's
MENTI.
the time
it's
for...
the wrong code again, isn't it?
No, I won't go to code now. That's the fun part. Let's play a little game with MENTI. If I find the guy, okay.
Yeah, we need to put the code back into the YouTube chat, right?
Oh, will you be showing how to connect to the GUI shown in Pix slide? That's the bonus exercise in the very bottom of the README. this is at the very bottom. There is a dedicated workshop to really implement the full app, including the UI. So today we just limited the scope, but to have this nice UI, please go and do the bonus exercise. It's also very well documented in the README, in the other workshop.
It's very well documented, and it's just a little bit more complex. The data model is a little bit more complex, and it made the REST controller a little bit harder to understand, right? So we've taken the decision to just simplify it really for this one. But you have this other workshop where you can go through it, and then you can tie it in with the various UIs that are available for the to-do MVC.
True, exactly. And yeah, the reason is in this full version of the app, I do have some DTO, especially for the UI, and DAO to connect to the database. And it's not the same to-do object, so you do have to do some mapping. If you cross a layer and you are not using the sub-objective 2-layer, you need to do some mapping. All right, so Menti, let's go. 5 questions to Menti. 3 winners will get some swag.
Yeah, it's not many people. I will play.
Do you want some swag? Okay, let's have some swag. Oh, do you want me to play? No. That's not fair. Okay, waiting for players. See? 13 players only? I will wait for players. 15? Only 15? Wow. Okay. So that's more chance to win, guys. Okay.
Definitely.
Let's move on. Okay, press enter to start countdown. Enter. Answer fast to get more points. Microservices are the method to ensure tight coupling, the way to isolate domains, workload, and reduce coupling, required enterprise service bus to communicate, could only on a Raspberry Pi. Yeah. Okay. Good job. 11. Got it right. A Raspberry Pi. Who's? Bettina, is it you?
It's me. But I'm not 2 people. I'm only 1.
I knew it. Okay, so leaderboard. Oh, Deberun Pal asking a good question on the YouTube chats. What's the fastest? Good. Shiv Rock, Ashish, also good questions. I probably haven't seen all the questions from everywhere. Okay, moving to question number 2. Fastest gets more points. Oh, press enter to start countdown. Oh, so now there is, okay, intermediate. Anyway, enter. Okay, it's better. How many session objects should you use in your application? 1 per application, as many as needed, 1 per connected client. Should have to do anything really, it's just your opinion.
So
David, where is my response 42? I see you, David, I see you. Yeah, that's really 1 per application, a singleton. It's either single for the full application, not per connected client. Per connected client, you may have some web session with context and everything. No. To connect to the backend, the database, a singleton. Leaderboard. Vladimiras. Okay. Richard D is leading now. All right. Question number 3. Okay, I kind of like this new way, Menti just stop you and you just step enter and everybody go read the question. I think it'll be better and more fair. All right, boom, let's go. Answer fast, get more points. What is Astra? Oh, this one is not that difficult. It's a local in-memory version of Cassandra. It's Cassandra as a service in the cloud. It's a development tool. It's a gateway to the store. Yeah, gateway to the star.
I wonder who the other player is who's typing all the wrong answers.
Oh, again, this is you. All right. But
I'm
see,
impressed.
yeah, see what is your place, and we will see how many players we had. Oh, Z was the Z. Sorry if I
Oh,
mispronounced.
there's a movement. Look.
Yeah, it's the Baron Pal leading 4 short head. Okay, I think we do have 2 more questions to go. We still have time. 3 winners get some swag anywhere on the planet. We ship everywhere. Jack ship everywhere. Thank you, Jack. Okay, next. 4. Okay, go. Look at your phone, it's faster. Why should you prepare statements? To ensure they are ready for send stage, prepare statements are required to speed up queries, to properly cook them for guests. Oh, feedback question for next time. Do you like when we read questions when you aloud, when you try to read and answer them as fast as possible? Maybe it's just annoying. Let's see. To speed up queries, yeah, true, because once they are prepared, they can execute multiple times and no grammar validation anymore. Suspense. Oh, Richard D, too fast.
Oh!
The Baron, AD, and Z. All right. Okay, last question. You can still do it. All right. Question 5 or 5. Go. Using resultset.all is a good practice to retrieve results. Yes, no, I like using all available memory in my application. Oh, that's a neat question.
I've actually seen that in support. So.
Oh, you see that in support? Of course you do. True. Yeah. Okay. All right, drum beats. Who is the big winner for tonight? Ashish from nowhere. Oh, let's see. Oh, no, that was not enough. Congratulations to the Baron Pal, but 3 winners will get some swag, so please reach out to Jack Fryer either on Discord or YouTube chat, jack.fryer@dataslides.com. All right, congratulations again. All right.
Thanks for playing along, it's fun.
Yeah, that's always funny. I love this Menti. All right, so, and we got the question, so to get the full working app, yeah, there is a dedicated workshop. Very well explained, but pretty hard to fit that in 2 hours, to be honest. But now you did most of the work, so if you go there and do it, you will do it quickly because you will find the to-do repo, the to-do controller, and what shenanigans that has been added is just mapping in between layers.
So just while I was watching the leaderboard, I saw that Richard had a question in the beginning that I promised to get back to. Perhaps you have just a minute to answer this question.
True.
So in this persistence layer, if you have different implementations for example, a NoSQL database and a SQL database, and they have different capabilities, for example, when it comes to transactions, right? How would you handle that?
Okay, so first you will have multiple implementation of the same repo. If the objects you manipulate are not tied to the database, some objects are, using, remember, UUID. How do we map a UUID from a SQL database? It's a tip that does not exist. So let's consider now it exists. to have a transaction at the SQL layer, there is a dedicated annotation at transactional, and that will do because Spring will know that you are using a JDBC layer. It will do the SQL, before the SQL before and commit to do your proper transaction. It's simply an annotation at the implementation level. With Cassandra, no transaction, no annotation here.
So your implementation simply doesn't offer that capability then?
Yeah, if you try to add transactional on a method that does not support transaction, you will get an error telling you that cannot open SQL connection to do a transaction, for instance, because Arabas transaction comes from Spring JDBC or Spring, the name of the database that support transaction. And so first you need to import the proper starter, let's say Spring Starter JDBC, just to have the Arabas transactional class. And then at runtime, it will just look at all the pins that you have created and will look for a JDBC connection. And if not, it will just tell you, you asked me for a JDBC transaction, there is no available here.
Okay, so Richard, I hope that answered your questions that you had in the beginning. So, but if there's no questions, let us know in community, for example, or in Discord.
Exactly. So the bonus exercise is not the only resource we give you. You can go there and browse the link. We do have the microservice for gRPC, GraphQL, Kafka, one reactive. I got a question on reactive in the beginning, Webflux. Here is the sample. I gave a sample in the beginning. And also serverless, if you want to go that route. We also have some ready-to-go sample. But again, if you like those, subscribe to the channel, give us some comment, which topic should we cover, give us some feedback, and we will be more than happy to adapt the content we produce to fit your needs. And with that, I think it was our last slide, so maybe you have questions. We can stay here with us for a few more minutes, as you wish.
Yeah, it's been pretty quiet, I think, in terms of questions, but I can see, especially on Discord, I think apart from catty jokes from David, there's been not very much. Yeah, give us a shout in the YouTube chat if you still have any questions. And otherwise, we see you again soon.
Yeah, anyway, it's not the end. We are still on community.datastacks.com all week long, answering questions, getting some code samples. Anything you need, really, don't hesitate. We're here to help. Okay, then, so with that,
I think we're done.
Thank you very much, all, and see you very soon, probably next week. See you. Bye.
Take care. Bye-bye.